In a world defined by constant change, there are moments that mark a definitive shift, a point of no return. We saw it with the rise of the internet, the smartphone revolution, and the dawn of artificial intelligence. These weren't just technological advancements, they were fundamental realignments of our society, our economy, and our future. Today, we stand at the precipice of another such transformation, one that has been decades in the making. In the first half of 2025, a quiet yet monumental milestone was reached. For the first time in human history, the combined power of the wind and the sun generated more electricity than coal. It wasn't a headline that screamed from every front page, nor a viral moment that dominated social media. But for those watching the silent hum of the global energy grid, it was a thunderclap. This is the story of how a relentless tide of innovation finally broke through a wall of tradition. How renewable energy went from a hopeful dream to the dominant force in our electrical world, and how this single crossover point is set to redefine everything from global economics to the very air we breathe. The numbers themselves tell a story of breathtaking momentum. Throughout the first 6 months of 2025, as economies buzzed with activity and global electricity demand swelled by a significant 2.6%, a revolution was unfolding in plain sight. While the world was consuming more power than ever, the sources of that power were undergoing a radical change. Solar power generation didn't just grow, it exploded. Jumping by an astonishing 31%, wind generation also surged, rising by a robust 7.7%. Together, these two forces added a colossal 306 terawatt-hours of new, clean electricity to the global grid. To put that figure into perspective, that's roughly equivalent to the entire annual electricity consumption of a country like Italy, added in just 6 months from solar alone. This incredible surge propelled renewables to a new high, commanding a 34.3% share of the world's electricity. In the same period, coal, the bedrock of the Industrial Revolution and the long-reigning king of power generation, saw its share slip to 33.1%. The king was, for the first time, dethroned. This moment wasn't an accident or a statistical fluke. It was the culmination of decades of falling costs, technological breakthroughs, and a growing global consensus. For years, renewable energy was dismissed by many as a niche, a boutique solution that was too expensive, too unreliable, and too small to challenge the fossil fuel titans. It was seen as a supplement, a nice-to-have, for environmentally conscious nations, but not a serious contender for the heavy lifting of powering our industrialized world. The 2025 crossover shatters that perception entirely. This isn't about a niche anymore. Solar and wind are no longer the understudies. They have stepped into the spotlight as the biggest and fastest growing contributors to the world's power supply. This tipping point signifies a fundamental truth. The economics of energy have been permanently altered. Solar panels and wind turbines are now, in most parts of the world, the cheapest form of new electricity generation available, a reality that has turned the entire energy market on its head. The implications of this transition ripple far beyond the electricity sector, signaling a deep structural shift in the global economy. This isn't just about swapping one power source for another. It's about rewriting the rules of industrial development, investment, and geopolitical power. For over a century, the world's economic and political landscape has been shaped by the geography of fossil fuels. Nations with vast reserves of coal, oil, and gas held immense power, dictating terms and influencing global events. The rise of renewables decentralizes this power. The sun shines and the wind blows everywhere, offering countries that were once energy dependent a clear path to energy independence. This shift is forcing a massive revaluation across countless industries. Commodity markets, once dominated by the price of a barrel of oil or a ton of coal, must now contend with the falling price of solar modules and the fluctuating availability of wind. Industrial investors are redirecting trillions of dollars away from fossil fuel exploration and towards the manufacturing of turbines, panels, and batteries. Entire supply chains are being reconfigured. The demand for lithium, cobalt, and copper essential components for batteries and electrical wiring is skyrocketing, creating new economic hotspots and new geopolitical tensions. Meanwhile, governments are being forced to adapt. The policies that propped up the coal industry for generations are becoming untenable. Instead, nations are scrambling to craft new regulations, offer new incentives, and build new infrastructure to support a renewable-dominated future. This is a tectonic shift, and its tremors are reshaping the very foundations of our global economy. Of course, this rapid ascent of renewables is not without its challenges. The very nature of solar and wind power, their variability presents a complex engineering problem. The sun doesn't always shine, and the wind doesn't always blow. For a grid that demands a constant, reliable flow of electricity 24/7, this intermittency is a major hurdle. You can't simply flip a switch and command the sun to shine brighter. This reality is forcing a second wave of innovation, one focused not on generation, but on management and storage. Recognizing this, governments and utilities around the world are now pouring unprecedented sums of money into two critical areas: transmission and energy storage. The grid of the 20th century was designed for a centralized system, with large coal or gas plants pushing power outwards. The grid of the 21st century must be smarter, more flexible, and more resilient. This means building thousands of miles of new high-voltage transmission lines to carry power from drenched deserts and windy coastlines to population centers, hundreds or even thousands of miles away. It requires sophisticated software and AI-driven management systems that can balance supply and demand in real time, rerouting power in milliseconds to prevent blackouts. Even more crucial is the race to crack the code of large-scale energy storage. Giant lithium-ion battery farms, capable of storing excess solar energy during the day and releasing it after sunset, are being deployed at an exponential rate. But the innovation doesn't stop there. Researchers and engineers are exploring a vast array of other solutions, from pumped hydro storage and compressed air to next-generation battery chemistries and green hydrogen production. The rapid growth of solar and wind is therefore not just an energy story. It's a catalyst sparking a parallel revolution in grid technology and energy storage that promises to make our power systems more resilient and reliable than ever before. The story of 2025 is ultimately a powerful narrative of contrast. It is the story of the old versus the new, the sunset of one era and the dawn of another. On one side, we see the slow, steady decline of coal industry that powered progress for centuries but at an immense environmental cost. The closure of coal mines and the decommissioning of coal-fired power plants represent the end of a chapter, a painful but necessary transition for communities built around this single resource. On the other side, we witness the explosive, almost relentless rise of renewables. This is a story of innovation, of exponentially falling costs, and of a technology that has moved from the fringe to the very center of our economic future. This transition is not just changing how we power our homes. It is fundamentally reshaping our world. It's creating new jobs in manufacturing, installation, and grid management. It's altering global trade routes as supply chains for minerals and components replace those for fossil fuels. And most importantly, it offers our best hope for confronting the climate crisis. The moment renewables overtook coal wasn't just a data point on a chart. It was a symbol of a future that is finally, tangibly, within our grasp. It's a future powered not by burning the finite resources of the past, but by harnessing the infinite, clean, and democratic energies of the sun and the wind. The revolution will not be televised. It will be energized.